Hey kids, this is Aaron from the podcast that wouldn't die, and Kevin and I use Zencastr. You think you're better than us, that you're using something else? You're wrong. Zencastr's the place to be. Who are you to deny it?
It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code DIEHARD and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time for you to share your story.
Only a fool will give up a chance for a 30% discount.
And all Denny wanted was someone to love.
The strays, they see you coming miles away. Dogs, alley cats, actors.
I am called Cat.
I like men.
Then, she met her perfect mate.
You are attracted to scum. All I want is someone to take care of me.
I am a Pazatsky.
Oh.
You got the curse all over you, boy.
It's sex. I can't do it, think about it, or even look at it. I turned into a monster.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hey!
This week on the podcast that wouldn't die, we're discussing the horror comedy classic, My Demon Lover, starring Scott Valentine, Nick from Family Ties, if you remember that show. Each week on the podcast that wouldn't die, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genres with a comedic twist. Aaron, what's the latest? How you doing?
Back at work 3 days before I go 3 days before I had to go back to work. I had to drink Gatorade for like 3 days because I'd just spent a week with my college friends. I needed a full detox. First day at work, I immediately adjusted to 20-something Aaron during vacation, where I just stay up till like midnight or so and then sleep till like 9 or whatever. So
that's not 20-something. You act like that's 20-something Aaron. 20-something Aaron is up until at least 3 and you're sleeping till 11.
Dude, remember the good old days? The bars closed, and then we'd all hop in someone's car and then go have breakfast, and then you get home like 3:30, 4 o'clock.
If I sleep in till 7, I'm like, that's considered sleeping in, because I can't make myself sleep longer than that, no matter how much I try. It's horrible.
I totally was sleeping till 9 o'clock, so I was living my best life. So when I had to turn all my alarms, it was like I had a heart attack. The alarm went off. I almost jumped through the ceiling. I'm like, what is that terrible sound racing through my brain? And I sleptwalked through work for the whole day. I didn't know what was happening. I don't know who was talking to what. I had the brain fog. I was drinking coffee at 1:30 in the afternoon. It was a situation.
Well, you were living, your best life for like 2 weeks.
I was living La Vida Loca.
You were living La Vida Loca.
If I live in La Vida Loca, it just means you had 4 beers instead of 2.
But you're footloose and fancy free, right?
True.
I have school-age children and a wife. I basically kept the same goddamn schedule. I was pulling up the covers about 8 o'clock. That's how bad that is. I didn't instantly fall asleep, but I'm getting in my comfy clothes about 8. And then around 6:30, I'm like, I guess I'm waking up now.
Dude,
Wow.
I was at the point at the end where I would finally get out. I get up at 8:39, but I'm not actually permanently leaving my bed till 1:30 in the afternoon.
Fair. 100%.
All meals can be taken in bed.
Well, it's that thing where you're like, I don't have to work today, but I should still probably bathe and brush my teeth. No?
Why? For who?
For who?
That. We should do things for ourselves. And so the thing I did for myself was not bathing and not brushing my teeth.
Well, then
because I don't care.
Well, then you turn into Scott Valentine in My Demon Lover, the homeless
Dude,
saxophone player.
don't ring my bell. If I gotta scare off some Seventh-day Adventists, then that's what we got to do. If I've got to answer the door in like a caftan and no bra to scare away someone trying to sell me solar, then that is what the Lord wants.
I see. So you're like the heretic at this stage of the game.
Dude,
Were you driving?
If
Go ahead.
only it was looking that good.
Sweet Jesus. Aaron, give us your 30
I
seconds.
revel in my crapulence.
Clearly. Give us your 30-second synopsis of My Demon Lover.
This weirdo dude who's twitchy and half rapey is wandering through the streets. I guess it's supposed to be New York. It looks like he's ravaging Sesame Street. And meets up with this girl who's like this total doormat whose boyfriend stole everything she owned because she dared throw herself a birthday party. Meanwhile, in town, there's like a serial killer. Anyway, Doormat Lily invites this dude to move in with her, no sex, but she's trying to get with him. And turns out, but they can't get busy because even though he's a super lech and super creepy, if he gets too aroused, he turns into a demon. And by a demon, it's just like an ugly, wacky dude because they're still nice. They're not doing bad things. Why?
Well, sometimes he
makes
has
him a
horns
demon?
and shit, but oftentimes
But
not.
what is he doing? I mean, when you see the nun, you're not expecting the nun to be sleeping on someone's couch and chilling like a villain and rescuing them and being right.
True.
So hijinks ensues. The doormat girl's witchy girlfriend sees that there's a demon, tries to dispatch him, and realizes he's not the real demon. Yada yada yada. It makes no fucking sense. It's not a horror. It's not a comedy. It's just a piece of trash. And there's way too much shit for sale on eBay if you want to merch out an entire house.
I mean, we should say in full disclosure that the only reason we watched this movie is because our buddy Antonio on the Cultworthy Cinema podcast invited
forced
us
tricked us into watching it.
We go on his show and we always have a great time. It's a great show.
Yes.
But he thinks for some reason we only want to talk about shitty pieces of crap. And evidently that's what people think our show is. Our show, we do not search out horrendous movies to talk about. Okay? We try to find some reasonable cinematic achievements. It's just oftentimes what we stumble into is My Demon Lover, for example.
Dude, we did Bodies. We
Talk
did
to me.
Malignant. There's a ton of great horror movies that we worship that we really didn't have that much to cap on.
Right.
We like going to the movies until you serve us whatever this is.
100%.
We're trying to make it so you only get the choice, the prime, not the stuff that they don't even feed to like wild dogs.
The gristle and fat, basically.
The gristle and fat, exactly. Whatever they're throwing into the rendering yard.
Absolutely.
We're watching so you don't have to.
So you know, we're taking a bullet for you.
Dude, we should be getting thank yous instead of these complaints.
We should be. Hey, just say thank you. Damn it.
That's right. Enough said.
So, as you guys, if you listen to the show with any degree of regularity, if we go on somebody else's podcast to talk about a movie, we are definitely talking about it on this one. We're not gonna. We're gonna beat that horse one more time.
Dude, already watched it. Why waste it? That's what I say.
Why waste it? Exactly. So, needless to say, neither one of us had seen this movie prior to what, this weekend?
if either one of us had seen this movie, we would not be talking about this movie right now.
If we would have known what Antonio was setting us up for, forget it. Forget it.
Why did no one warn us?
Totally. I mean, again, to say this, I remember the commercials for this movie because I was in middle school. And at the time, there was a very successful TV sitcom called Family Ties, starring Michael J. Fox and Justine Bateman, Meredith Baxter Birney. The list goes on and on. Scott Valentine was a late addition to the cast. He was Mallory's boyfriend, Nick, who was he was a painter. He had, Aaron mentioned it earlier. He had the full Richard Marx hairstyle, 100%, 100%. And he had a Kramerian quality where he'd walk in the door and say, "Hey, yo," and the audience would applaud. Like the audiences liked Nick on Family Ties. And
in the 80s. I'm not sure if we throw that up on the screen, we'll try to watch that now, how excited that will be.
This is like mid to late 80s at this point. And he was such a popular character on Family Ties that they tried 3 times to give him his own spinoff. And each one basically...
What were the various shows? Do you remember the names?
You want me to look this up?
I thought it would be right on the tip of your tongue. You're the big Family Ties... I don't know. Doctor?
You bebop and scat, and I'll tell you right what it is.
All I can tell you, he looked like every weird sidekick from any 80s sitcom, where they all had like these signature phrases that would come on. Hey!
Right. And it was literally like, "Hey," was his was his sign on, basically when he entered the thing. And like, I always felt he had kind of a Stallone energy to him because his voice kind of sounded, at least that on Family Ties, he had, kind of a, "Hey," quality, right? And his face kind of looks like he's a Stallone cousin, at least, in my opinion.
A lesser Stallone, perhaps.
Okay. So, Valentine's success as Nick Moore on Family Ties led to 3 separate spinoffs. That is freaking mind-boggling. I have never heard of a network.
They loved him.
100%. The first, Taking It Home, starred Valentine and Herschel Bernardi. Filming was canceled following Bernardi's death in 1986. So his co-star died, so they shelved that one.
Yeah.
The second spinoff placed Valentine's character in a Friends-like environment in New York City.
Oh my God.
I guess they didn't film it, or they filmed the pilot and cashed it. There's not even a title here. The third was a pilot episode for a spinoff titled The Art of Being Nick. The episode aired once and co-starred Julia Louis-Dreyfus. So he says, "It came in number 2 and they still didn't pick it up," recalled Valentine. So, The Art of Being Nick.
I looked him up. He was supposed to be in the Lords of Discipline, but was hit and run over and dragged by a truck. So he couldn't work for 3 years, and then he got Family Ties.
That's rough.
I remember the Lords of Discipline. Oy.
So anyway, he is the headliner of this movie. He's why you got into the theater to watch this movie, is to see Nick from Family Ties. Because again, Michael J. was, the star of Family Ties, and he had burgeoned off into a semi-successful movie career. Back to the Future, huge hit. Now there were some stinkers in there for old Michael J. Fox.
What was the werewolf one?
Teen Wolf.
Teen Wolf. What a bunch of trash.
I love Teen Wolf because he was like starter on his high school basketball team.
At 5'3".
At 5'3". If
he's a linebacker.
If he's even on the team, your basketball team sucks. Let's be honest.
Oh, basketball. You said football.
Basketball. Basketball.
Even more ridiculous.
Even more ridiculous. Anywho, He saw that, and fucking Scott Valentine is like, hey, I'm the next Michael J. Fox, or so he thought, because he got one swing at the plate for My Demon Lover, and that was it. That was check, please. So such is life.
He did some direct-to-video films also.
Uh-oh. Night Eyes too?
What is it? What was the Red Shoe Diaries?
Was he Red Shoe Diaries? You forget that David Duchovny was like the host of Red Shoe Diaries on Cinemax. Like he was.
I love David Duchovny back in the day.
You knew he was a freak then, basically.
And he was a freak, as a matter of fact.
100%. 100%. He was. I love. We're just talking about whatever the hell we feel like talking about.
We got to spill this time because we already told you this is a bullshit film. So let's just delve off.
Duchovny was such a freak that when he was on the X-Files, they had to give Fox Mulder some kind of backstory that he was into porn. Literally. Like, and not like a central plot point, just kind of throwaway lines. Oh, I did find that video in your nightstand or what. You're just like, what is happening? If you don't believe me, ask any adherent to the X-Files, and they will tell you Fox Mulder, porn addict.
Dude,
anyway,
and it ends up that is absolutely true.
Well, he goes, and then he's on like Californication. If he's in the show, it's some kind of sex thing. It's a sex show.
X-Files. I got to revisit X-Files. I just started watching it again, and you just think this show is so fucking good.
Only reason he agreed to do it is because he saw that X. He thought it was X-rated Files. Is what he was hoping for.
What kind of X-Files?
I'm in. Anywho, why don't we jump right into the highlights, Aaron, of My Demon Lover? God damn it. Go for it.
How about Larry Bud Melman is in this film?
He was! He's in one scene! If you even know who Larry Bud... He was like... You'd see him on David Letterman from time to time.
For years, he was on in both of his shows. But all of a sudden, I was like, holy shit, is that Larry Bud Melman? I didn't even realize that wasn't his real name. I had to Google it to make sure.
What's funny about that scene is Lynn Shay is the angry waitress. Lynn Shay is the wife of the head of the studio, New Line. But she's also an act, like you saw her in There's Something About Mary. You saw her in Kingpins. She's like an actress in things.
Right.
Who, in addition to,
That's
is married to.
Right. I just want to be married to someone who just throws me a couple scenes now and then. I don't even have to have speaking part. Dead prostitute, whatever. Walking by, I have a sassy comment, away I go. That's all I'm asking for.
Sleeping woman on a bus. That's all you need. That's all you need. But so she feeds Larry Bud Melman like a bowl of like gray slop because this is like a health food. It's a health food place.
It comes out of like a tube and it looks like gray oatmeal or something.
And he takes like one bite and then just drops dead. And that's the end of his role. And then he's hauled away and thrown in the back of the ambulance. And that's the end. So
it would have been better if it was turned into like a Soylent Green situation. And then they took him around back, and then there's another serving.
I'd be into that. I always say the wildest thing. If you don't know Soylent Green, in my best Charlton Heston, Soylent Green is made out of people. It's made out of people. If you go to your supermarket, there is a health food drink called Soylent. And there's different colors, and one of them is frickin' green.
Yes. Trust me, they knew.
They knew. They must know. I
saw an interview with the dude who invented it. Clearly half a robot. He did it so he wouldn't have to stop to eat human food while he was just working on the computer for 16 hours a day.
I can't be bothered to prepare normal food, but I'm going to create a health food company
I'm gonna put my dick in a liter bottle of soda and I'm just gonna suck on soil. It just goes in one side and out the other.
that sounds amazing, if I'm being honest. Anywho,
but back to Soylent Green.
Please.
So is Soylent Green the only one? Because remember in the movie there was different colors.
Right. Well,
So
okay.
it's only the green because he does complain about the green.
Yes,
Are the
the
rest
issue
one's made out of beets or cats or what?
originally there was a variety of different soylents based upon, I don't know, algae from the oceans or whatever the hell it is. And
Right.
that's where the nutrition is coming from. But because in this futuristic hellscape, the oceans are so polluted, there is no more phytoplankton or whatever the hell it is to be found in the oceans. So now they are literally just harvesting dead bodies and
Hey,
feeding it to
and
people.
I say, and
I was going to say, you can't just gesture on a podcast. And I say,
if it's end times, what, you're not going to eat it?
that's not
Recycling.
alive. You know,
Keeping them out of the landfill. Let's go.
100%. 100%. I'm on board.
Let's do it now. I'm not going to eat it, but there'll be others.
There'll be others.
Or maybe we already are. We don't know.
Can we get back to my demon lover, by the way? We have.
Are you sure? Are you sure that's something you want to do?
Is that really? Take a minute. Is that really what you want?
Think
about it. God damn it. No, Scott Valentine, we're introduced to him as on the subway in ostensibly New York. He is one of those annoying, like, street performers. He's playing the saxophone, annoying people. He's homeless. Like, he's got a stained shirt. People are commenting on his smell. Smash cut to, he's walking down a busy New York street. And women are walking by, and he is basically a freak. He is Harvey Weinstein. He's commenting about all the women, trying to grope them, chasing them down, which, as the movie progresses, you will realize makes absolutely no sense for this character. Sweet Jesus.
I agree with you. This movie makes no fucking sense. It's supposed to be a horror comedy. It is not funny. It is not scary.
I mean, I wonder, it's very clearly an attempt at comedy, right? It's very clearly an attempt at comedy. I don't know
it's
if
an
they're
attempt at horror also.
I don't know if they're trying to be scary in this, because when he was in middle school, he was at a party and his buddies kind of pushed him in the room with the hot Romanian chick. I don't know if she's an exchange student, what the situation is. And they start making out. And then angry old Romanian grandmother with wearing a kerchief, right? Like she just pulled up in her caravan or something, right? Shoots a lightning bolt at him. And now he's got the Pizzazki. He has a demon inside of him where if he ever gets aroused, he turns into an assortment of bizarre rubber Halloween masks. Let's just say. God damn it. Aaron, are you journaling? What are you doing right now?
I am Googling Pizzazki.
It's not a real thing, Aaron. Although it's vaguely offensive. I'm sure it's offensive, whatever it is.
There's Pazinski.
Pazitsky, not Pizzazki?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Who could say? I mean, I can't remember the characters' names, much less I'm going to remember the curse that the woman placed on him.
Let's take a look at this situation. You have these kids are supposed to be in junior high because they look like they were 20.
Okay.
So junior high kids, they're all lined up in a row. You got looking at a girl slumped over on a couch.
She was not slumped over on a couch.
She was not sitting upright.
This movie just has many offenses. That's not one of them.
She had poor posture. And they said, one of them, go do it. And he sits down and kisses her. And I don't believe there was much conversation. Is this what boys did in junior high, Kevin? Where you go and you line up in a dark living room and just try to get one of your friends to kiss some weird chick in the other room while you all watch?
There was a movie that came out in the early 80s called Last American Virgin, which is simultaneously the most offensive and the most upsetting. It's like you watch it and literally when the final credits roll, you want to cry. I mean, sincerely, it is. You're like, oh my God. This movie was a number of films that came out about this time about losing your virginity. Like this was the overriding motivation.
Boys in the 80s, not about girls losing their virginity.
No, they're not
Boys
interested.
were very concerned. See, nowadays they're incels. They don't care about that. But back in the 80s, kids, boys were very concerned if they hadn't lost their virginity by the time they were 6 years old.
And again, it's not like maybe I should ask out more women. It was always like some convoluted, bizarro plot. I'm visiting a roadside whorehouse. I'm going to TJ. I've got to pay somebody. My personality is so shitty. I cannot possibly convince anybody to touch my wiener unless I'm giving them a 50 as well.
Meanwhile, your jackass friends, all they have to do is throw up in a bucket and 3 girls are there on them.
That's Last American Virgin. Okay, we're going to talk about Last American Virgin for a minute. Last American Virgin, you had 3 guys who, you have the handsome guy who's clearly already banging chicks left and right. You have the fat guy, because of course you have to have the fat friend. And then you have the kind of lonesome loser, as Little River Band described him, where he's kind of a nice guy, but, can't seem to get it together. He falls in love with this girl, who of course is more interested in his handsome buddy. Handsome buddy knocks her up,
of course,
dumps her. So now the nice guy says, "Oh, I'll be your friend and I'll take care of you." He pays for the abortion. This is a serious movie, by the way. Pays for the abortion and kind of, is kind of nursing her back to health. She throws him a pity just because that's what you do at that stage of the game, even though she's like literally just had an abortion. And then like as the movie's winding down, he goes and gets her like a bracelet, like that he's got her his name initialed on. I don't know. He gets her like some jewelry or something. Walks into the big party to give it to her, and she's back with the asshole guy.
100%.
And he immediately just like walks out, goes in the car, drives home, and you just see him crying as he's driving home as the credits roll.
I gotta tell you, there's a subgenre of dudes who are looking for that broken wing bird.
100%.
To fly in there and to get it.
That's this guy in this movie. So let me just say, this movie, I mean, it's got those Porky's moments, those Revenge of the Nerds moments. You're like, this is a funny sex comedy. And then it takes a turn. We're like, whoa, how did this happen? It's something. Anyway, My Demon Lover.
We will not be reviewing any of these 80s I had sex and got knocked up movies.
100%.
Who's going to pay for my abortion? The 80s was also all about who's going to pay for my abortion.
Fast Times at Richmond High.
Which one of you assholes is going to take me to the clinic?
Yes, she's 15. The girl in Fast Times, little Jennifer Jason Leigh, is like literally a freshman in high school, knocked up by a 25-year-old because she lies and says she's 18, gets pregnant. He stops returning her calls.
Of course.
Oh, God. Anyway.
Because in the 80s, nobody knew where babies came from.
And these are comedies.
Care of it.
These are comedies. Funnier than this piece of shit. That's for goddamn sure. Anyway. So, we've talked about Kaz, the homeless saxophone playing demon man. On the other side, we've got Denny, she's kind of your typical doormat, where she's cute as a button, but every
rocking
dude,
her best 80s clothes, the oversized
100%.
blazer, all kinds of crazy buttons and stuff. She was bringing it. A fedora.
she raided Debbie Gibson's closet, essentially, is what we're talking about. But she's a total doormat. Like, we meet her, she's coming home, and her boyfriend, who she lives with, is literally cleaning out her apartment with all her possessions. Like, she's got groceries, she's going to make dinner or some shit. He kicks the bag out of her hands, stomps on the eggs.
That may have been the funniest part of the whole movie because it's so fucking ridiculous. I'm robbing your house, and I'm gonna make sure I kick your groceries.
And she's like, "Hey, that's my lamp." And he just climbs in the back and kind of gives her the finger. And she's like, "We didn't talk about our relationship." Chasing him halfway down the block. And he doesn't even respond. He's just like, whatever, closes the back of the van as the van drives away. And arguably the funniest and saddest line of this movie comes later, right after this, when she's talking to her sassy Latina friend. What did she was saying? Why did he bail on you? Well, I insisted on throwing a party.
No. Yeah, he had told me no loud parties, but then her comment was, "But it was my birthday."
That was it. Because her friend goes like, "Oh, I mean, why? He's an asshole that he didn't want you to throw him a party. Oh no, it was for me or some shit."
It
was, oh my God.
Now that was some comedy gold. Unfortunately, all the gold stopped right there.
No, the mine went dry after that little, this was not a bonanza of gold. That's for goddamn show. Her friend evidently works at a voodoo shop just because why not? This is New York and people practice voodoo. So, which serves no purpose except that on the wall, there's a bizarre dagger and written in like scotch tape underneath it or packing tape, whatever. It says like demon knife or some shit. So that Pavlov's demon knife. So it's gonna, not Pavlov's, Chekhov's demon knife. So it's coming. It'll come back in the third act. So you have that to look forward to.
And it did come back in the third act.
And it did come back, thankfully. Meanwhile, there is a serial killer on the loose called the Mangler, who's been murdering women all over town. And Kaz, who it's later revealed he's got a demon in him, is concerned that it's like, shit, when I get horny and turn into a demon, am I the one going out and committing these murders? But this makes no sense as well, Aaron. Can you tell us why?
It makes no fucking sense because every time he turns into a demon, he seems to totally recall everything that went on. And when he is the demon, he's still the exact same motherfucking guy, except he looks weird. And almost every time, except for the end, where he keeps showing up as the same demon, he shows up with a different. First, it was an old fat man. Then it was like the shittiest, like CVS Halloween costumes you could fucking come up with.
Right. It was like,
but
essentially,
it makes no sense. Why does he think? Yeah. Why do you think you're the Mangler when you have total recall and you're the same person when you are a demon?
Right.
When are you having these blackouts? Because not in this movie.
Well, and you think if you turned into a demon and you murdered someone with your bare hands, you'd come home covered in blood.
Covered in blood. Or you think if you're a demon that you might do some devilish things. But
correct.
Apparently not.
Right. Evidently, when he gets horny, he transforms into a ugly old man, a weird demon with horns and wings. But also sometimes he dresses into a dude with like a bowl cut or some shit.
Oh, yeah. What the fuck was that? And I thought it was Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber.
It was so bizarre.
What the hell? You could have closed that deal. At least he didn't have a horn or stuff coming out of his nose.
Absolutely. So, but again, it's not like he becomes violent. He's not like he's not a werewolf where he transforms.
He's not trying to sacrifice you. He's not doing anything.
No. I think the idea is now I'm a hideous freak and therefore you wouldn't want to have sex with me. So I'm going to run away. I guess. Is that what it is?
Maybe, yeah, maybe because he ran away because he's afraid he was going to do something. Why would you be afraid when clearly you know you haven't?
Right. And then
no explanation.
So she meets him because she's at her health food place eating a fruit burger with beets and shit in it. And Kaz, the homeless street performer, is literally sleeping in the gutter in a pile of trash. And up to this point, we've established that he is clearly insane. He seems like a crazy person. So that when he crawls out of the trash and sees her, he literally pulls the food off her plate, takes a bite, and it's a hideous fruit burger. So he spits it all over her.
It's a fruit burger?
It was because it was like a vegetarian choice, I guess. It sounded horrendous.
What the fuck is a fruit burger?
It's a burger made, and he's offended. He's like, "This isn't meat. You fed me a fruit burger." So I'm spitting this shit on you.
I spit it out onto your dress.
Onto your dress. And then he like follows her home. And because she's kind of a doormat, eventually now he's living with her in ways that make no sense.
Well, he saves her and carries her inside.
Carries her, yes. He saves her, so now she feels kind of compelled. But 5 minutes later, she is desperate to jump his bones. Okay? So she's constantly...
She's the queen of the bad choices.
Well, and I mean, literally from the first moment of this film to the end of this film, it's only been like a couple days, maybe. Right? So
we know why she gets into trouble.
Absolutely. So she's got to have it. And now think back to the beginning of the movie where he was sexually assaulting random women on the street. Now when this girl is blowing in his ear, he's like, I got to get out of here. He's jumping out the window for fear he'll turn into a demon. He wasn't worried about it earlier in the movie, so who the hell knows what's going on here?
Oh, I think we need to channel him. We need to call him. Can you look him up in the Yellow Pages, see if he can come on and explain some of these choices for us?
He's available. I'm sure he's listening. Anyway.
No, I need to add some money to my 401k.
So the grand reveal is that the Mangler is not Scott Valentine, because that would be a horrible reveal if Scott Valentine was the murderer all along. Instead, it was this horrible, creepy incel dude that they constantly, he's like introduced as kind of a comic relief type character who's like hitting on all the chicks at the bar, spilling, because he does not have like any like fine motor control. He's having a drink, he's spilling it. It was like, I can't even describe. He's a horrible freak. But when it's revealed he's the murderer, okay, fine, because who else would it be, right? There's only so many characters in this
There's
movie.
only 4 characters in this entire film, so it could be her lusty friend, but methinks not.
Methinks not. So he's revealed to be the killer. And then later, in a double Shyamalan twist, he's revealed that he also made out with the Romanian exchange student back in 78. And
she's
also
not
got
an
the curse.
exchange student because she's living with her fucking grandma.
Okay. But
why do you say it's an exchange student?
Because it's a Romanian curse that the grandmother lays on her.
Well, can't they be immigrants?
Okay, so you're not having an issue with her coming from another country. You just have an issue with her being an exchange student. Is that what you're saying?
That is
okay,
correct.
fair.
That
not an
and the
exchange
fact
student.
that this dude is let's just be kind and say 10 years older than Scott Pilgrim or whatever.
Not Scott Pilgrim.
But
only. Yes, fair.
So then that girl would have been 8?
Perhaps.
Or 5? I mean, at what point was he putting the moves on the Romanian teenager that caused Nona Strega to come and give him the zappity zap?
Yeah, these are important questions because, again, Kaz is established as being a crazy homeless street performer, Scott Valentine. And right. I guess we're supposed to think he's got to be kind of desperate so that this doormat character of Denny will invite this dude, this clearly unhinged street performer, into her home and potentially into her bed, right? But when you compare that to the Mangler, the real Mangler, this is a guy who has a job, who has a home, right? He establishes that he works for the school board for like the Department of Discipline or some shit. So he could hold a 9 to 5 and still be.
I'm not sure our school board has a department of discipline.
Maybe it should. Maybe it should. Anywho, so then then there's a 45-minute long climax scene in the heretofore never seen nor mentioned castle in the middle of Central Park that
I
the
totally
Mangler
remember
lives in.
that. That's where Big Bird had his nest. I'm pretty sure.
That's where Big Bird had his nest.
Because there's no fucking way this is actually New York City. It is the shittiest version. It looks like fucking Sesame Street.
Can you tell me how to
How
get?
to get? Did you hear they're canceling Sesame Street?
What?
Yeah.
What the hell? First Mr. Rogers and now this. What the hell?
Well, Mr.
Where's our
Rogers
world?
is R.I.P. But I know.
Sweet Jesus. What about
Joe-
Electric Company? Is that still on?
Can you, only if you get Rita Moreno
And Morgan Freeman.
and Morgan Freeman to come back.
That'd be good. I'd tune in for that.
I tuned in for that. She's they're treasures.
Treasures. So the Mangler has kidnapped Denny, and the best friend who works in the voodoo shop first she wants to kill Scott Valentine with the anti-demon dagger, but somehow he convinces her, "Oh, even though you are looking at me and I look demonic, I've got
Right.
wings and horns. I'm now convincing you, but I'm a good demon." And she's like, "Got it."
Is
Cool.
that a thing? Is that what Reagan said at The Exorcist? I'm a good demon.
I'm a good and she just says, "Cool, no further questions, Your Honor." And now we're friends. Now we're
Not
friends.
guilty.
Not guilty.
Well, they're about to be real good friends.
So we got to hit this. So Denny,
Oh, that's what he said.
that's what he said. So Denny has been kidnapped in the castle, and the best friend is like, "Hey, demon, Scott Valentine, why don't you change into a demon so you can fly up into the castle and rescue your friend?" And he said, "Take it, Aaron. What happens?"
I don't remember.
That's not a good answer. Anyway, he says, "I can only turn into a demon when I'm horny." And she says, "That's all you had to say, big boy."
You came to the right girl.
100%. So now they're having sex on the banks of the swamp for really an extended period of time. Because up to this point, we established...
fully clothed.
Yes. There's a lot... Yes.
It must have been one of those things where they have the sheet with just like a hole in it.
Correct.
No one is fully and there's like a branch across. But there was no bum, and unlike other 80s movies, no bosoms.
No bosoms, shockingly. Shockingly, no
Shocking.
bosoms.
Especially for late 80s, there should have been something.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like literally his girlfriend gives him a kiss on the cheek, and he's like, "Oh, hang on. I got to get out of here. I got to jump in a cold shower." He has a 20-minute sex scene with the best friend, seemingly to conclusion, and then turns into the demon. If that's how the curse works, I think you're doing all right. Right?
I thought he was supposed to be cured if I had this vision that he was going to be cured if he climaxed. In my mind, and this whole thing was that if you can find a woman who's willing to F you all the way to the end, even though you're like Uncle Fester, then it's a miracle and you'll be cured. But apparently,
like Beauty and the Beast. That's what Beauty and the Beast is.
That's right. Beauty Beast. And he was... They didn't cut that out of the Disney. What was the song that went with that?
Tale as old as time.
That's a tale as old as time.
You're telling me. So he after he's done, he turns into the same winged beast that he was earlier. However, as we've established, every time he turns into a demon, he looks entirely different. One time he turns into like a pot-bellied old man. What if that would have happened again?
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
It's ridiculous. There's no logic. I really don't understand what people were thinking when they made this. They just had so much money, they were just writing checks, and nobody was
writing checks.
They were writing checks, and there's no oversight. They're like, this only costs like $3 to make. Who the hell?
Yes.
Worst comes to worst, direct to video.
Totally. So, I mean, we don't need to discuss it. Basically, there's a fight, the bad guy's vanquished, but the bizarre twist, the double twist at the end, is earlier in the movie, a street peddler basically sussed out where his curse is and how to defeat it. And he says something along the lines of, you have to do something noble, but then your curse will just be passed off to whoever's closest to you. In my mind, I thought that meant emotionally close, like his girlfriend would then be
Oh, is
afflicted.
that what you meant? Yeah,
Yes, that's what I
guess
thought.
so.
Like that, then it would be like kind of a choice. Oh, damn!
It's
How badly
Sophie's
do I want to
choice.
lose? It's Sophie's choice, 100%. How badly do I want to lose the curse if it means that Sweet Denny now gets the curse? Is what I thought he was going to have to make this choice. No, not at all. Instead, what happens is the poor peddler who happens to be standing next to him at this moment is now he's cursed. So now he's got a Pazatsky inside of him, and he literally is like about to chase someone and rape them for laughs.
For a laugh. Na, 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 na,
Like
na,
Benny
na,
Hill.
na, 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 na.
100%. Benny Hill, not so funny anymore. Where the old men are chasing the women from room to room. That's assault.
I
there
have
you
to
go.
tell you, I have not seen Benny Hill in years.
No one
I'm
has.
afraid. I'm afraid that I'm gonna watch it and not find it funny. What about when he hits the old man on the back of the head? That's still funny though, right?
So that is still fun. This reminds me. Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay.
Yes.
Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland, right?
Yes.
There was, if you go, you're in the little boat and you go around, you see these little vignettes. And there was this one vignette where in one room, the pirate is chasing the pretty girl, right? And going around and around and around.
Right.
And in the next room, there was like the fat chick chasing the pirate around and he's
Right.
running away. They had that there for, I swear to God, 40 years. And then
Yeah.
people are like, ew, I don't know if this is going to work anymore. So then they change it. So now, or
Some say ruined it.
some say ruined it. So they changed it. So, okay, the fat girl's not chasing him to have sex with him because now they put food in his hand. He's running around with like sausage links and like a ham. So now she's
She
chasing
is
him
running
to
around.
get the food.
Oh yeah.
To get the food. Is
And
that
then they
better?
had the slave auction with the wives.
Right. Eventually they changed it all together. So now it's not, nobody's
And
chasing
through
anybody
fucking
anymore.
Johnny Depp, because pirates are fun, wacky characters.
Correct. They're not rapers and pillagers. They're just wacky characters. So no one's chasing anybody anymore. So there you go. That's what we call progress. Anywho, any last thoughts of My Demon Lover? This movie's lousy.
I have not gone to Disneyland because I'm sure that they have destroyed my two favorite rides. The Haunted Mansion is an icon, one of the best haunted houses in the
Yes.
whole world.
What's wrong with it? now?
Not
It's still good.
scary, but cool. No, because they put Jack Skellington everywhere. It's like Johnny Depp. You can't have a fucking ride there without a fake Johnny Depp.
Okay,
They
fair.
added Johnny Depp to the Pirates of the Caribbean, even though his character looks totally different from
Right.
the other ones, because it's supposed to be Black Spot. What is it? Oh my god. What's the pirate movie?
Pirates of the Caribbean?
No, the originally was based on
It was? Oh, are you talking about Treasure Island?
Treasure Island.
Okay. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Where's
I guess that
Blind
makes sense.
Pew? Yeah, it makes sense because that
It
was
does.
also a Disney
That
film.
makes a hell of a lot of sense. Well, back in the
'Cause
day,
it was
the
put out
rides
in the 50s, yeah.
back in the day, the rides were just rides. They had no connection to anything else. Now, as time goes on, it's like, well, we should make a haunted house movie, a haunted mansion movie. We should make a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Anyway, any last thoughts about My Demon Lover, for God's sakes?
I've already flushed all my thoughts away.
Well, let's go behind the scenes. Sadly, we can't go behind the scenes because there's literally no trivia on IMDb. Zero trivia. All I can tell you is there's a reason why Scott Valentine changes into a different kind of freak every time he changes.
And what is that?
The reason is because they wanted to differentiate it from being like a werewolf. right? They didn't want it to be every time he changes into the same type of creature who's an uncontrollable beast. They want it to be
Okay, first of all, he was never an uncontrollable beast
right.
when he was a demon. He was only an uncontrollable beast in his regular self.
And when he was regular with his goddamn saxophone, which I don't think you ever see him with a saxophone again. Just in
Yeah.
the first 5 minutes of the movie, he's playing it on the subway, and then he's just like, "Well, I've given it up." It's
Yeah,
like Kenny G.
100%.
Why don't we talk about the cast and crew then, shall we? Let's see. My Demon Lover, directed by Charlie Loventhal. You know him for My Demon Lover, something called Meat Market in 2004, something called The First Time in 1981, which seems like another I'm trying to lose my virginity desperately.
Yeah. How about the last time?
100%. And something called Mr. Right, Write, from 1994.
About the Wright brothers?
Seemingly starring Paul Reiser before Mad
Ooh.
About You. So
All
good
right.
stuff. Let's see.
So not much.
No. Scott Valentine played Kaz, the homeless saxophone player. He's got a little demon in him. You know him from 41 episodes of Family Ties from 85 to 89. Boom.
Oh, so he was doing this after. He was still on Family Ties after this.
Oh, yes. 1992, he was in To Sleep with a Vampire, which seems like kind of an erotic thriller, if I'm being honest.
Honestly, it doesn't sound like if he's in it, it's going to be erotic at all.
He was in 22 episodes of Black Scorpion in 2001, playing
Do you know what
Detective
that
Steve
is?
Rafferty. It's I think it's kind of an erotic superhero, because it's a woman, Joan Severance, who fights crime in kind of a leather leotard type thing. So good
is
stuff.
this part of the Marvel universe? Is what you're saying?
I don't think so. I don't think so. From 94 to 96, he was in 35 episodes of Phantom 2040, playing the 24th Phantom, Kit Walker Jr. I'm not familiar with any of these.
Shocking.
So
Shocking.
and of course, My Demon Lover. Michelle Little played Denny. And you know what? I kind of liked her. I liked her. I wouldn't mind seeing her in other things.
No, you won't.
She was in Apollo 13 in 1995 playing Jane Conrad, one of the wives. Oh God. She was additional crew in 1982's Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
Oh,
additional
there you go.
crew.
That's why you liked her. Additional crew, whatever the that means.
Whatever that means. She was in My Demon Lover in 1987 and something called The Perfect Man in 1993. Unfamiliar. Let's see. Gina Gallego played Sonia, the best friend. She is clearly like the most successful actor in the bunch.
I cannot tell you what she's in besides Seinfeld. But as soon as I saw her and heard that accent, I knew exactly who she was.
She's in one episode of Seinfeld. She was in 2002's Mr. Deeds, which is an Adam Sandler movie.
Terrible.
She was in 2000's Erin Brockovich playing Miss Sanchez.
Okay.
She was in 2002's Minority Report, saying she was the pre-crime public service announcer, which doesn't seem like a huge role, if I'm being honest. And she was the shelter director in 2008's Beverly Hills Chihuahua.
I didn't
know it well.
See that.
Do you want to know about anybody else in the cast?
I don't think there is anybody else.
I don't think there is anybody else. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the rating, shall we?
Oh, lay it on me.
Currently, My Demon Lover, 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, based upon only 5 reviews and no top critics. So take that with a grain of salt. Do you know what the audience gave it?
Is it a negative number? I'm going to say 12%.
46% based upon more than 250.
What?
Let's take a look at, again, no top critics. So based upon 5 reviews, I'm just going to read
It's just some random dude.
just random Joe. I'm helping people out. Roger Hurlburt from the South Florida Sun Sentinel says, My Demon Lover is not a film without merit, but it's very
Yes.
close. 1 out of 4. So, good stuff.
Okay,
Aaron,
what is the merit? That's the question.
that is the question. What is your rating for My Demon Lover?
It doesn't make me angry.
So that's something.
It doesn't. It's not gonna frighten me so that it makes me angry. It's
Okay.
just stupid and makes no fucking sense. I'm gonna give 1 out of 5 flushes down the fucking toilet, and I'm never gonna see this again as long as I live.
100%. 100%.
Flush it away.
100.
Flush it away.
I
I'm wishing it. I'm wishing it away into the cornfield. That's what's happening.
in my mind, I reserve the ones for those movies that truly are an abomination, an apocalypse, a train wreck. I'm going to give it 1.5.
What
And I think
the
that's gonna
what?
offend Aaron. It's a movie that you watch and fall asleep halfway through and then forget you ever saw it. It's
And
not
then you never
something-
finish it.
then you never finish it. But it's not a movie that you're like having flashbacks about. Trust me. By next week, I'm gonna struggle to remember the title of this movie.
100%.
So
I'm already.
1.5.
I feel it already slipping away.
I wish I would forget it right now, if I was being honest. So do not see this movie. We're having a good old time, but this movie blows. This movie
We
blows.
are 1,000 times more coherent and funnier than this terrible, terrible movie.
And I had to pay $3.99 to watch it. Wait a minute. That's not
Why?
true. It was on special, standard definition, 99 cents on Amazon Prime. So even that wasn't worth it. I'm going to go see if I can
I
get a
will
refund.
just tell you that I paid full board.
Oh, that's insult to injury.
Son
No
of a
question.
bitch.
Any last thoughts, Aaron?
This is a terrible movie. Don't go see it. I pity everyone who is involved in this production. The
I
end.
mean, you knew it was lousy because we kept talking about other things that we'd rather talk about for like
Dead
halfway-
giveaway.
Dead giveaway. 100%. So, thank you
And
very
you'll
much.
know it's lousy in the first 3 minutes.
Yes, there's no mystery. You can tell it's horrible. Anyway, we are across the social media landscape. We're on Blue Sky, we're on Threads, Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, which you may be watching us right this very moment.
Maybe.
Maybe you can email us the podcast that wouldn't die at Gmail. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review. Won't you?
Won't you please?
Aaron, what is your social media situation?
I have some art on Artsy and First Dibs, Aaron Doherty, Instant Dreams Gallery. I'm in charge of our Ticker Talk, and I am on Instagram, the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. Buy some art.
Boom shakalaka.
Buy some art because I overspent during the holidays. And even though I got paid for January, apparently there was some spending hangover there.
Just got paid. Anywho, as you know, we like to include our comments from our friends across the social media landscape. Aaron, what do you got?
My good friend Scott Bakula called me up to
Did he?
discuss. He did. We're very, very close. And he
Yep.
said, never show that fucking movie again. They had a meeting of the Scotts and they said no. No Scott Valentine. Scott Bakula said no. Scott Baio. None of that. No.
I agree.
Scots have spoken.
And I do like Scott Bakula. I mean, granted, movie career, not anything special.
Of
Although I do
all the
like,
Scots I have mentioned, he is by far my preferred Scott.
of all the Scots I've known before. Anywho, so thank you for that, Scott. Next week, we're going to be discussing the Stephen King original movie, Sleepwalkers. Have you seen Sleepwalkers before, Aaron?
No. Am I gonna
Okay.
hate it?
Probably. And because Antonio
Wait a minute,
punished
did I
us.
Did I tell you I just fucking listened to on my Audible a new Stephen King novel and it was
No.
trash.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Trash. It was like fairy tale or something. Ugh,
It wasn't Sleepwalkers, the novelization.
the novelization, the comic book. Astrid versus Sleepwalkers
Could
or
be.
something.
Uh,
Continue on, lad.
we are going to punish our buddy Antonio from the Cultworthy Cinema podcast by having him come on our show, A Home and Home, to discuss Sleepwalkers. So you have that to look forward to for next week. How can you watch Sleepwalkers, you ask? Well, that's an amazing question.
That is a question. Am I going to have to pay for this shit again, Uncle Kevin?
Yes. Yes, you are.
It's not on Mubi or Tubi.
If my notes are correct, it's on Prime Video, YouTube, or Fandango at home, each for the bargain price of $3.99. So good
Motherfucker.
stuff. Good stuff had by all. What's funny is My Demon Lover, I could have purchased it for $7.99, and I said, no, thank you. No, thank you, sir.
Which
So,
Sleepwalker is it?
Sleepwalkers, plural.
2017?
No,
Oh, Sleepwalkers.
it's more than one sleepwalker. Sleepwalkers. Now,
Oh,
when you watch this,
1992.
and I defy you to figure out why it's called Sleepwalkers. Unclear.
Because that's how you're going to be feeling walking out of the theater.
100%. 100%. So send in your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions, and we may talk about it on the show, just like our friend Scott Bakula. No relation. So, thank you very much, and be well!
Be well!